A 24-hour whirlwind visit by Intel's CEO Pat Gelsinger saw the announcement of a new $10 billion chip plant and $600 million worth of investments into research and development for Intel and Mobileye. Gelsinger says that he sees Israel as a microcosm of Intel worldwide, leading in innovation, research, development and production on an extensive scale, and we are investing accordingly. Now for more, I'm joined by Yaniv Ghathi, the CEO of Intel Israel. Yaniv, thank you so much for joining us. Now, a $10 billion chip plant opening in Israel. What is it about Israel that draws tech companies like Intel to open up in Israel in the first place?
Thank you for having me, Sarah. There's probably not one single answer, but I would start by the fact that we do have talent which has proven itself over the years to have a culture of innovation. And I think we see that both with the multinational companies such as ours, as well as with the startup ecosystem that we have here in Israel. What works to our benefit as an ecosystem, as a sector, is also the ability of the government to support and know when not to get involved with the sector. And in our case, and you mentioned the $10 billion factory that we are building in Kiryat Gat, there is a set of incentives that helps Intel to make such an investment.
With the global chip shortage that we're seeing, will this new plant be able to alleviate that in any way?
We are seeing quite an amazing phenomena. Right before COVID, the gap between demand and supply was within kind of the 5% kind of margin. But what we have all witnessed during COVID is a tsunami of data. The digital transformation era that we are all witnessing and living through has been accelerated through COVID. We have all seen that. Our kids are learning or learned through Zoom. We are ordering food using an app. We get vaccines being developed. And we have AI helping the health sector. When we see all those apps, what we see are chips. Those chips are basically the engines that enable all of those. When you and I talk now, there are probably few dozens of chips that are involved in enabling us to talk and then to broadcast this event right now throughout the channels. So these days, the industry sees a gap, a margin between supply and demand of close to 20%. And we don't expect anything kind of to roll back and go back to the days before Corona. We will continue to see that. So definitely Intel, for our customers and including the new strategy that we have to open up our fabs, our manufacturing facilities for others to use, we need to increase our capacity. The project in Kiryat Gat is something we have announced a couple of years ago. The good news with such projects, which take 3 to 5 years from incubation all the way to opening up the doors, is something that has been in the planning for about 2 years. And now if you go to Kiryat Gat, you see the machinery on the ground.
There was also another further $600 million investment. How far does $600 million go as far as research and development is concerned?
Well, what we have announced is, in addition to starting the work on the $10 billion program in Kiryat Gat of the new fab, is the $400 million Mobileye Center in Jerusalem and a $200 million new R&D center in Haifa, which comes next. Basically, it's kind of adjacent to the campus we already have in Haifa. That will create a mega campus. By the way, worth mentioning that we are a bit unique by the fact that our buildings are our own. We don't lease those buildings. We actually invest in making the buildings exactly as we need them. And the one in Haifa, what we plan to have is the first building which is set from the get-go for kind of the new norm of how we're going to work post-COVID, in terms of a hybrid working model. The campus itself in Haifa will be able to accommodate about 6,000 engineers.
Okay.
And we will have, in addition to that, lab facilities and so on and so forth. One last comment, just when you add up the total investment Intel has made in Israel since 1974, when the company first moved into Israel, it's totaled north of $45 billion. So there's a legacy and a history of such investments here.